rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have one person excused for tonight's meeting. Lynn Kane had a family emergency that came up this afternoon, and I think her mother has fallen ill, so if everybody would just keep Lynn and her family in their prayers, hopefully for a favorable outcome.
There's a few others listed as excused.
Okay, then the few listed are excused. Scott, would you let us just know who they are?
Dale Lingenfelter, Dave Massaro, and Carol Brandt.
Okay, yes, and also I think I know Carol has, Carol sent an email to us that her mom has been ill and is coming home from the hospital, and she's helping out, so we should also keep Carol and her mom in her prayers. Jim?
Just if you want to make a note for the record that Brian Wood is actually in attendance and not, even though we would excuse him, we'll accept it.
He corrected it.
Oh, good.
Jim, you're asking about confused?
No.
Got it, okay. Well, Brian, you are unexcused. All right, so it's to the secretary to establish whether we have a quorum tonight for the purposes of a CON vote.
We do have a quorum. I need signatures from Jeff Williams and Dr. Daly as well.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
Don't have to do it this minute.
All right.
It's coming around.
Okay, so I think that we usually start with the executive director's report, but I think Tim has asked if we can go a little bit out of order tonight. If no one objects to have a presentation by one of the members of the staff. And I want to start by telling everyone that I got a chance to come in this week, and I spent about 3 hours meeting with Tim, and he had the key members of the staff here, like Rich and Deb and JC, and it was purely for me to learn about everything Remo does. Because I've been on the council for a while, I sort of think I know what Remo does, but I have to tell you that I have pages of notes of all the things I learned that I really didn't know that Remo does. And it was really, really impressive. So we have asked Tim to have different staff members come to each meeting and spend a little bit of time giving us an update on what they do, what their departments do, so we get to know a little bit more about the operations of the council. So tonight, Rich, who's the director of training, is here. We've allotted probably 20 minutes for him to go through what the training department does. And so for some of us, some of this is review, but I hope for everyone we learned something. And so let me just turn it over to Rich.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going first, I'm sorry.
Oh, Tim, you do not want to go first?
No, I can go first.
Tim suggested you go first.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm here for the whole meeting. If somebody could just turn the lights down just to dim it. So I did a presentation so you guys could see it on text too, even though it's probably the worst way to, people don't like text than presentations much anymore. So I'm going to go through it very quickly so you guys can go on to your meeting and have a quick day out in the nice weather. At any point, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I know some of you guys are already training officers in your own agency, so it's fairly simple. I think Steve had said that most of the people that are here kind of already know what we do here, but if you have any questions, like I said, I'll elaborate.
Are Henry and I in anyone's with field vision? Should we move?
Maybe some of the people directly on the front, I don't know.
Okay.
I almost pulled that little shelf over on you. Yeah. How are you? Nice. Rich, you have a text message.
I do, I know. I don't always clear them either.
That would drive me nuts. I'm like OCD, I get one little number one there and I gotta clear it.
Never would have thought that, Scott.
Funny guy.
What's that? Yeah, where's that? I just lost, oh, here it is. Here we go, sorry. Okay, so I'm the Remo training coordinator, and usually it is held by a CIC or a certified instructor coordinator for the state. I'll go through some of the qualifications. Usually it is somebody who's taken up to the CIC course. There's various other requirements that Remo or some of the different Remo type organizations that have course sponsors which teach EMT courses require. But some of the administrative roles that I hold here that I have to take care of, and we have other people that do help out. Some of these are also added to by the instructors that teach the courses. First of all is the EMS course files and maintaining the files. I don't know if you guys have come through that little kind of a back room there, and there's a whole bunch of files in there, and each one of those plastic boxes contains at least one course file. It's filed by course number, and Remo has to hold on to those if the state should need those for future reference or students need information down the road. We regularly get students to call up and say, hey, do you have a copy of this? Do you have a copy of that? Can you verify that I took the course on such and such day? Especially for the registry issues or anything else that they may find that could help them. Even if they go out of state or they go somewhere to get a job, we get queried sometimes. And the instructors that teach the courses also have a certain format dictated by New York State Department of Health, the way the file has to be put together, given to us, and we make sure it's protected in a sense that can be used or worked with later. I have to, from the genesis of the course, the thinking of what we're going to do with the course, or if there's a need for a course, all the way to the close of the course. So we give the instructor an application, they fill in an application, we file it with the state, they return it to us usually within a week or so, and then we get a course number, and that's our ticket to basically go ahead with the course. We give the instructor a file that's got all the paperwork, all the file paperwork, files, any forms that they have to use for the course, and a lot of the materials that they use for the course, equipment and such, if it's not being held here. At the end of the course, after the student has completed the course and taken the written exam, we have the CIC or the instructor of the course return the file, and we promptly go through it, check it to make sure it has all the content that's required by the state, and file it, put it in a secure place, and I'll say it a little bit later, we pay the instructors, pay the instructor for the course, and then also look for reimbursement. As well as that, and I said payment, we do pay during the course as well. The courses instructors, like lab instructors, they get paid as soon as we can, or as soon as we get the submission from the instructors. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag because we have instructors that may not submit to us the instructor's hours. Currently, most of the courses we have here are tracked on when to work, which is just a scheduled program, and their hours are put into that. So even if there's a course, say up in Skidmore, that we don't have the paperwork for who was there, whatever it may be, we get it entered in electronically into the when to work schedule, and we can run the payroll right from here at Remo and never have to collect paperwork. And it also keeps a good accounting of when the instructors were there. Several times the state has asked, well, how many people did you have teaching the course? Who were they? We don't have to rifle through paper. We can just look it up on when to work and print it out for them, and they can see, okay, we had CIC, 2 CLIs, 2 other instructors. So it's actually a little bit better method for us to do things. Also in this role, I also help schedule and set up with Debbie Cuffs, who's our regional faculty, the instructor updates. If you have instructors in our region, they have to take updates to maintain their instructor status. These are 3 to 6 hours. Sometimes, I think the requirement now is 8 hours for an instructor. But they involve somebody coming in, telling instructors how to teach, different methods, different types of tricks of the trade that we found or that other instructors have found that help our students, help our instructors teach the students. It could be national speakers, it could be Debbie, it could be another CIC, it could be anybody. It's supposed to be based on teaching content, okay? As well as that, we also have instructor courses. We have a CLI course and a CIC course. These are different from the NEMC courses. Has anybody heard of those courses that are held by the national educators? That's a national course. There's 1 and 2. It's a little bit different course setup than what we have to do for New York State. A lot of people sign up for the CLI course, the Certified Lab Instructor. It's a very popular course. It's only like 2 days, and there's very minimal internship time. A CIC course, which is the instructor coordinator to run a course, you actually have to do an entire course after you've completed the CLI course, and we have very few people that actually do that process. First of all, because it's hard to find these courses. We don't have a CIC course every single 6 months, or even sometimes every year, because we don't have enough people to have the course. And it takes a lot of time for somebody to do this kind of training, to do the internship and the teaching. And it's sad to say this, but there's a lot less CICs in the region. Even the state will acknowledge it, because there's just so much involved to get there. And you don't make $500,000 when you're done. It's kind of a labor of love. So a lot of the instructors that do this because they want to do it, not because they're rolling up Easy Street. Okay, I haven't seen anybody riding around in a pitmobile because they're a CIC lately. So it's something that people have to really like to do. The other couple things we have as far as responsibilities here: course standards and compliance. As issued by New York State, we have to follow those. I can't, Tim can't, nobody here, none of our instructors here can run a course that's an EMT course unless it adheres to the New York State requirements and also the national standards. So we can't skip stuff or do certain things based on what we want to do. We are supposed to follow what they suggest, and our schedules are approved before we start the course, okay? At the end of the course, and this is probably a very important component for Remo as well, is we voucher for the expenses. We get paid a certain amount per student for those students who are involved in an EMS or a fire EMS agency. So if they ride or volunteer or work at an agency that has a New York State code, we can voucher for them and get money back from the state for the training that we have given them. If they pay for the course beforehand, like say there's somebody that walks in off the street, which we do have a lot of people doing now, we don't voucher. We just have them pay for the course and they come in and take the course, okay? Currently the course, in case anybody wants to know, I think it's along the lowest of everybody else in the area. Everybody's kind of around the same prices. The course itself is $700, and that's the conventional course, and then there's the cost for the books and fees. So based on which book you use, if they can find a used book, sometimes it can be a little bit cheaper, but pretty much we're charging for the course itself, right now, the price that the state returns on a voucher or what they give us for doing the training, all right? And then we have to pay instructors and all the other fees and maintain equipment from that funding. And then at the last part, I'm supposed to try to, after all that's done, talk to Tim, talk to Dr. Daly, have even some of the board members, and I know Steve is actually even currently reviewing the quality assurance tool we use for after-course evaluation, and we've already gotten some feedback from that from Steve on what we can do better. It's very tough to do things better for EMS people. I don't know if anybody has realized that people are not always happy, even whatever you do. And right now as well, dealing with the state has kind of they're in a transitional period. So some people are not experiencing the best opportunities at the state that they should. So we sometimes get a phone call, and it may be an angry phone call because they're not happy with what happened in the testing or the procedure that we had to follow with the state. And we have to kind of calm them down, say, it's okay, we'll be there for you, even though, I mean, several times I've never even seen this person before. So there's a lot of things to make people happy that we have to go through that unfortunately sometimes is not our fault. Sometimes it's just the way the state runs things that makes people kind of unhappy, or what's going on with the way they conduct their paperwork and stuff. Educational, like I said, I also have to be able to teach courses too. For instance, if we have an instructor that can't make it, I try to fill in and cover the course. We also have to, I'm an AHA instructor, and we also do some AHA courses on that end, although Tim does a lot of the training center administration. If we have any kind of PALS or ACLS or advanced courses, I tend to do those. We have other instructors who do the BLS courses, but they interface with what we do here in training as well. So that also falls into play. And also conduct AHA instructor courses. I don't always have to do them, but if they're at the advanced level, I will. We have other people that do those, and we kind of have a little setup so they can understand what to do, the paperwork and the internship process, and we mentor them, and a lot of the instructors end up teaching or using us as a training center, and we maintain the quality of the courses through the training center. There are some courses that are held outside that we don't have any control over just because we're not their training center coordination. Different types of courses that we have here now, and I know that this is kind of the newest thing up and coming. If you go onto YouTube, you may see something that's a little advertisement video that says the flipped classroom. Has anybody ever seen that yet? It's a little advertisement that comes up if you're on YouTube, and it goes through this whole lengthy explanation of different types of courses that they're offering. It's it's for James and Bartlett. And they're heavily into, and Dan Limmer is one of them as well, if you talk to him, that they do a lot of this flipped classroom. Now, does anybody know what a flipped classroom is? It's not where they take the students and throw them around. What's a flipped classroom? Anybody familiar? It's a lot of hands-on stuff. Now, what I'm doing to you right now is probably the worst way to teach you to do something in EMS, because you're going to probably forget this in about 5 or 10 minutes after we're done. I hate to say that. It's the worst way to teach. But for tonight, it's the best way for me to show you what we do. But for somebody who is a student come from the outside and I'm teaching you how to save somebody's life, this is not the best way. They've shown that the best way is to do hands-on lab-type sessions broken up with frequently changing topics so people stay interested and awake. How many times you've been in a class and you're back there and all of a sudden it's like you're waking up 2 or 3 people at the back of the room because they're falling asleep already? That's what they're trying to avoid, and they find that this helps people learn better. So we have conventional classroom courses, which is what we're doing right now with intermittent labs. Hybrid classes, which is classroom and online, which means they take the regular classroom course and we intermix that with online content from EMS One Academy, which is a national CME provider, and they watch videos, they do more of a mixed media. Actually, some of the people right now that go through the courses like the videos because it's like watching TV or it's like doing stuff on the internet. Okay? And my generation was raised on the TV. I'm not sure what the new generation is raised on other than iPads and Facebook, but it's very easy for me to sit and watch some kind of video quality or video type media to learn something. So some of the people like to do that, where they don't hear somebody like an instructor rattling on and on and on and on. And the other one is online, which is very minimal classroom, which is like a CME type of situation. There are, and New York State only allows 50% of the class to be online content. But there is some states out there and some training centers, not in this state, that offer almost all online content, and then you come in for a week of intensive lab sessions, test out, and you're done, okay? It's a very expensive proposition. Actually, I talked to somebody the other day, and they said that they would come to Albany, teach the course. I do it all online. They would teach a physical lab course, national certified, and you'd be done in a week after you do all the online content and then do the skills. And I said, how much is that? And they said, $8,000. So they fly out their instructors. They stay in a hotel for a period of time, different instructors based on how many people are here. And they do it all, and I would basically do all the tests, all the study online. We don't do that. We don't do that right now. New York State is very interested in different types of teaching and training, and they're open to it, but they just want to make sure things don't get out of control where people are getting EMT cards with a credit card online, and that's it. A couple different things that we have the students for the materials for their courses. Books, they have to dress appropriately and obviously look appropriate and smell appropriate. That was Debbie Cuff's comment. We had some students that weren't smelling appropriate, I guess, sometimes. But we have everybody make sure they look professional when they go to the hospital and ride. Also, computer. They have to have a computer at this point to access a lot of the state resources. We used to hand out a book that was protocols. There's no such thing as a protocol book anymore in paper. It's all online. So they have to have internet access. There's no way about it, no way around it. And the internet. Anybody have any questions? I'll wake you up at the end, I promise. Stand by here, there we go. Oh, it's not connecting. Stand by, I talked too long.
Wow, that could have been dangerous.
No, I just take, sometimes it gets the internet here, sometimes it's a little funny. Okay, so, couple things new for this year. And I forget, it always escapes me, the region that's to the mid part of the state, that uses.
Central New York.
Central New York, is that what it is? We're actually not behind the times, but we're not doing as much as everybody else does in New York State for CME and online training. We had talked to Steve just the other day, and we've had several people ask us, but we have not done it at this point. But we use EMS Academy for our online training in CME. We're going to offer that to the region as far as agencies and providers at a cheaper cost if anybody wants it. Pretty much, I know CenterLearn is one of the major providers in this area that people use, and I talked to a couple agencies, just they start coming to us, also a couple providers, like, can I order it? And this is available online, you don't have to order from us. This is available as well, separately, and it's national content. The good thing about this is the region to our west uses this, and they got, I don't know how many, it was several hundreds of licenses, and they basically get it at a very cheap price for their agencies. They're another Remo. They basically said, hey guys, if you want to get from us, you can. We're going to get it really cheap, or cheaper than normal, because we want to make it so that a lot of the people that are recerting CME-wise can recert via the CME online, because a lot of agencies are 100% online now, so they're going to do it online. Plus, we're going to get it cheaper for you so that you have it available to you. The good thing about EMS One, they queried both EMS One and CenterLearn. The only thing, and I've actually checked myself over the last year, we've used this for about a year now with no issues. And you can set up different agencies in it. They could be their own chiefs and watch their own people. There's no extra charge for most of the extra training. I talked to one agency the other day, and they were like, we're paying $100 per person, plus we're buying an OSHA update, plus we're buying some other kind of EVOC driver training. It's all included on there. I just confirmed it again yesterday. If you want to take an EVOC course, it's on EMS One for free. It's all included in the package. It's not any extra fees. There's no setup, because we were quoted this a couple of years ago, and they said, sure, we'll set it up for you. It's $2,000 for your agency or for your Remo. It's another $2,000 for this. It's another $2,000 for you to access it on the internet or whatever it was. Same thing with both, CenterLearn and EMS One. At this point, EMS One has waived those fees for us, for the region, the same as what has happened in the other region, and we don't have any extra additional fees for this content, okay? Something else that Tim had suggested that we do have often, and we, at this point, have really not offered it to anybody and said anything, because we kind of stay out of it, but the agencies, same as the western regions, are having issues with enough CICs. So if need be, Remo would function for whatever fee, or it would be in the price. We haven't figured out the total price yet. But if you needed a CIC, Remo has CICs, we'd sign you off for that. It'd be definitely a lot cheaper than having an agency contract with a CIC to do that. I mean, I actually do that for some agencies, and there's quite a bit of money that changes hands just for signatures on the recertification paperwork. So, and the good thing about this is you don't have to pay for all these extra fees and everything else, and you can also assign, I saw this in the minutes here for the next, one of the things for the Remo staff. A lot of agencies, I did it at another agency, one of the ones I had, you can actually have the Remo staff do the sexual harassment training. There's a module, you take it, you take a test at the end, it shows you a CME certificate, and these are all these classes are accepted by the Baltimore CCMBS, so they have national content approval. So we could do, you could have your people in your agency for no extra fee take a sexual harassment training, and you won't have to, as long as it's accepted, as long as you have them do it, they fill out a test. I did it myself, actually, and to tell you the truth, it took me 2 hours, because some of the stuff I didn't know. And they were suggesting this, and it's a national thing. So obviously if there's local protocols that fall into place, you'd have to follow those, but there was no extra fee. I mean, an EVOC course. You take an EVOC course, you have to pay extra for that. You don't have to pay that. It's obviously not a driving the ambulance type of course, or a flag car, or a fire truck, or whatever, but it is something that you don't have to pay extra for. Okay, so that was something that we put in there. We're not going to beat your door down and try to sell it to your agencies or sell it to the region, but if somebody wants it, we had somebody just the other day that they were like, they didn't know what to do, they needed CME content, they had enough CMEs, they just needed a few more online. They bought the content from us so they could get it because they couldn't find enough in the region. And the online ones at Albany Med, there's that, but there's no real regional access if you want to do it. And this poor fellow, he needed a little bit of help, so we also helped him figure out his State Farm and everything. It was for an agency that has a CIC do stuff, but the agency, the kid just didn't understand what was going on, and it would have cost some money for the kid to get help to figure out how to do his form and stuff. So it worked out pretty good. And it seems like, I will tell you, and I think Summer learns the same way, people are afraid of the online stuff and online content, but it's pretty easy to use. It gets nerve-wracking though when you fail a couple questions and you have to go back a couple times and retest, but it kind of, I mean, I kind of felt better. I was like, damn, you can't just go through this and take this and pass it. You've actually got to know what the answers are. So, and we use it for the classes as well. But that'll be available. We'll put it on the website if anybody wants it. It'll be available. Do you want me to talk about the online billing thing real quick too, or no? Because that'll be a component of it.
No.
Okay. So, anybody got any questions? I don't have anything else. Everybody start waking up. I'll put the lights back on.
Rich, just,
Yeah.
one of the things that you told me the other day was how many people we train in CPR each year in AED?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's a lot. Tim knows the numbers
I think
probably
you
better
told me
than
it was
I.
in the thousands.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. We function as a training center for a lot of instructors in this area. A lot of instructors use us as a training center. We just most recently, last year, acquired BOCES. So we have the BOCES that we are supplying, and put this in mind, they probably used other places and there were issues, and then they come in here and Tim pulls out his, what, 2 or 3 inch thick book on the training center coordination, and they were like, oh, this is, you can't do that here, you know? So, and they pay fees and they pay for their cards and such, and it's a lot of work, I mean, expended upon the training center for CPR. The only thing, like I said, we are going to, Tim may have already said this at one point, we're going to e-cards, electronic cards. If there's a transition going on, so we get it out to people faster, and that should be at some point, it's going to be required by the American Heart, but it's going to be a better tracking system. What's that?
I think it already is.
Yeah. No, I think it's whatever. I know we're transitioning right now, but
July was the deadline.
yeah. So
Last July.
No, they're advertising webinars now for that, informational e-card
They
webinars.
have a few left
yeah.
for webinars on how to use it, but the deadline was last July to transition to e-cards.
We never got contacted from the AJ.
Yeah, well, but hopefully that should be all through, but there's just we have a large number of CPR stuff that we handle on a regular basis, so it's a lot of people, plus the EMS courses as well.
So I think that, you know, when Rich and Tim and I were meeting, they said, when you look at all the people that come here for cards, thousands of cards come out of this building every year for CPR. So if you think about the population of the Capital District, and that thousands of cards come from here, that's a lot of people that are getting CPR training through Remo. And we ended up that Remo teaches on average 10 EMT classes a year. And so one of the things I suggested that Tim and Rich do is prepare a little statistical profile to show, whether it's to put on the website or to bring to the Remsco, to just show all the stuff that's happening here in training, because it really is considerable. And it's not just the teaching of the EMT classes. And also it not only does it pay the salaries of the staff, but it also brings in the revenue that allows additional programming to happen. So Rich, I want to thank you for coming. Anyone have any questions for Rich?
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today.
No, I'll be here. I'm not leaving yet.
Cool.
In front of the James
And
Church.
I think, and we'll have someone else from the team next month, right, Tim? Okay. All right, so next up is the Executive Director's Report.
Hopefully everybody has a copy. I'll touch on the high points, I think, in the interest of time. Couple of quality CMEs coming up, I think. PEDS transport training with the help of Doc Daly and some folks down at Albany Med and Gillen EMS that offered their former Western Turnpike training site to hold this training session. It's going to be Saturday, April 6th. It should be great. We also have another good one coming up here on April 10th. It's going to be QA/QI with Albany Fire Battalion Chief Geo Henderson. I've personally seen the PowerPoint he did for that, and he does a great job explaining QA/QI. The next one we have is Columbia Green EMS Day. They have that twice a year, typically May and November, and Remo always reserves a table because it gives us a great avenue to approach providers in the southern parts of our region that typically wouldn't make the journey up this way. So once again, we'll be attending that event. This Wednesday, we're approached by DOH. Remo's going to be hosting a NEMSIS 3 training seminar here. Peter Brody's going to come in, give us some NEMSIS 3 training, and we have reps from several of the surrounding program agencies that will be attending this session.
Any chance you're going to record that?
I'll ask Peter Brody.
'Cause
So
I'll be out of town. I would
that's
love
about
to see it.
it's a 6 or 8 hour day, so we'll see what we can do. So, reminder, EMS award nominations. If you could take this back to your respective counties, your respective agencies, they have to be here next week, or they have to be postmarked by April 1st. Typically, I get a rush the last week. We picked up a few more today. The awards committee folks probably got those via email, but they're not coming in as fast as they have in years past. So if you guys can be of any help to us here, spread the word out there and see if we can gather a few more EMS award nominations. I think that concludes my report, unless anybody else has any questions and anything else I've listed here.
Do you have anything on the EMS week activities?
Yes, we do. In fact, I have a printout, but just to be succinct, we are going to be offering a host of EMS activities here at Remo. I wish I had J.C. Guzman here to explain it. He explained it to Steve. We're going to be hosting a couple or several different interactive events here. We also are working with Crossgates Mall on Sunday, May 19th, to host a Stop the Bleed at Crossgates. We're waiting for their management to get back to us on that. That's the National EMS Awareness Day, so we're hoping to work with them to host a training session there. I will prepare, I have a flyer, or I have a printout here. I didn't print it up for everybody, but we have a host of other different events scheduled here for that week, and that's going to lead into one of my expenditure requests at the end of the meeting for some National EMS T-shirts and baseball hats to coincide with the events we hold that week.
Maybe you can have JC write up for the next edition of the newsletter, which we can do really soon, exactly what is going to happen with the EMS week activities.
Yeah, I'll make copies here. Everybody can have them on the way out.
That's
I'll
great.
send them on the table.
Okay. So this idea came from JC. I mean, it includes doing some social media, highlighting agencies, putting your pictures from your agency's crews and ambulances on the Facebook page and website. Giving away gift cards to EMS people who sort of are who like sign up for grab bag. Everyone sign up like Remo this week, and we'll pick out of a hat. One person gets a $15 gift card for Starbucks, so just to build a little bit of EMS week spirit, so we can get that for everybody. Okay. All right, so chairperson's report. I already mentioned the orientation I did with the staff this week, and I want to thank Rich for spending the time with us. I also want to note that the finance report was received by everybody in advance this time, right? Everyone got that email? That's part of the request of everyone to try and get stuff more out in advance. So I'm sure the treasurer will hit that when we get up to it. One thing that I wanted to mention is we had a conversation about having a leadership program, an EMS leadership, and something happened this month worth sharing. Doug Wildermuth, who runs the E5 EMS group up in the Queensbury area but has clients throughout the state, had approached us about doing a conference call with him about having an EMS Leadership Academy in this region. Doug has been on the faculty of an EMS Leadership Academy in the Hudson Valley, that I think a few people here have been through, that's held every year. It's not a CME program about medical CME, it's a day-long CME program about how to run an EMS agency. It's called the Emergency Responder Leadership Academy. I've had the privilege to be part of the faculty of that. I think Anand, you've been there, Scott's been there. Don't know who else here might have been. He approached the Mountain Lakes region if they would be interested in working on it, and so Travis Howe, who's Tim's counterpart at Mountain Lakes, was part of it. They approached us. Scott had been sort of volunteering himself to lead this initiative. I called Scott and said, do you care if we do it by ourselves or if it gets done? And he said, what's most important is that it gets done, not that it has to be a REMO program. So with that, I checked, and then he said, so check with Tim. Is this okay with Tim? Check with Tim. Tim said, it doesn't have to be ourselves. So the first calls happened. It was us. It was Doug, who has this CME company. It was Mountain Lakes. It was a few other folks from around. And the goal is to have in the fall a EMS program that could be hosted by all of us together, that would bring a couple speakers for CME about things like agency finances, agency compliance, agency human resources. With Kevin, were you on that call? You're looking at me like were you on the call? No. Okay, you're looking at me like I left you out. No. Okay, all right. So we're looking for a location. I, of course, said that we'd love to host it in the Capital District, whether it be a Remo or approaching St. Peter's. The challenge is, though, if this program spans a lot of distance, folks from Essex County don't want to drive to Remo. Also, we don't want to drive necessarily up there. So I think we're looking at spaces somewhere between maybe Glens Falls, Saratoga. It's just the beginning of a project. There was no discussion of who's going to pay for what. No discussion of whether we would charge for it, but presumably, since the region had authorized us spending some money when we brought this up on doing something, this money can be invested in a project that's not just our own. So Tim will be on the next call, whatever, I don't know what the date of it is, but we'll start planning it out and report back to you about the possibility of having this. One possibility is having it in 2 locations and broadcasting it. But I'm not sure that is the greatest option either, because you get lost if you're on a video screen for 8 days. So the last thing is just a presentation that we have for Anne Marie. So Anne Marie, you served as chair for 3 years, is that right? Okay. So on behalf of the region, presented to Anne Marie Cross in recognition of your dedication and leadership as the chair of the Hudson Mohawk Regional EMS Council, presented with gratitude by the Hudson Mohawk Valley EMS Council. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. Usually we give the certificate to somebody who's like running for the door, right? But Anne Marie's still around working with us, and so here's a.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. What a surprise.
Okay, cool. All right, so next up is the mandatory harassment training for remote staff and board. So, Tim?
Yep, we're working on several options. And for those of you in the room that don't know now, it's now a mandate to be trained in this. Obviously, we have in-house training and we have in-house sexual harassment policies. We've got to take that up another notch. And folks sitting around this table will be trained as well, because you are basically our supervisors. And per Terry Hannigan's opinion, you fall under the realm of needing that sexual harassment training also. I'm currently working on different options of obtaining this to make it as seamless or as pain-free for everybody as I can. Terry's exploring different options as well, whether he comes in, whether he prepares a canned session or not. We have the option of using our learning management EMS system, though I haven't reviewed that yet. I did go online and download all the New York State training options there. That's another option for us as well, and I'm forgetting one. Chamber of Commerce. I contacted our reps at the Chamber of Commerce, and actually one of them got back to me today with several options relative to that training. I believe we have to have this up October of 2019. Don't quote me on that, but we have plenty of time to do this. I just want to select the right training option for us, and once again, make it as painful as I can for everybody that's sitting in the room.
Painful?
Pain-free. I'm sorry, excuse me.
The state requirement is that all the training must be done by October 1.
Yeah, October.
And even if you sit on another board and you had the training at that board, there is no loophole. So some of us will take this training 6 or 7 times. And
There answers my question. I have a certificate from a college I work for. That's not acceptable.
no,
It's kind of like OSHA training, it's got to be done
you probably
6 times a year?
wherever you work.
Depends on where you sit.
You
yeah.
probably could fall asleep. You don't want to wake you up, but
No,
you know,
it's okay. I'll do it.
you know,
I just was gonna ask.
It's required, so, okay. All right, so, do you have a sense, you'll come back with options for whether or not
Yeah,
it will be done
I
in
should probably
meeting,
have a good
or-
idea by next month's meeting.
Okay,
What
thank
we'll
you
do.
very much. All right. All right, so there was a handout on the New York State budget update. Les, would you like to give us a little bit more?
Basically, right now, the budget is still under review. It's supposed to be adopted April 1st. Both the Senate and the Assembly have basically told the governor's office that do not touch the crossover piece, and it's supplemental funds for EMS. The holding your breath right now, that's going to hold true. Once the budget is signed and passed, we still have a lot of work ahead of us to make sure the $35 million that the state says that EMS is owed every year is brought to actuality. For those folks who sent letters, we appreciate that. If you need templates for letters, we have templates of letters I can send out. Also to the addresses of the elected officials to send them to, including the governor and the Senate and the Assembly leadership. It's really important we get our names on their agendas as soon as possible, to actually see the EMS faces in their offices. Sending letters is one thing, being in their office is something else. We thank some agencies around the state and around this region right now that did make the effort and actually did see the elected officials face to face. We're lucky enough that our state association, United New York Ambulance Network, teamed up with Haney's a few weeks ago and actually did get a lot of press coverage. It actually did make a difference. So we actually thank a lot of folks around the state for doing that.
Yeah, Remo did send a letter to all the Assembly members and all the senators. I think you should have all been copied on that in the 6-county region we cover. And certainly, any agency can take that, any member of any agency can take that letter and pretty much write the same letter to their elected officials. And I hope you all saw the newspaper coverage that the Onion Group got. They had, what, 50, 60 ambulances driving around the Capitol, and Les was sitting there cringing as they would go past the governor's desk and like whoop their sirens, and he was like, no, not that. But they did a really good job, so. Okay. Next up is Remsco membership criteria. Lynn is not here tonight, but I think Scott has one letter that was received from the Schenectady County.
The Schenectady County EMS Council has named Dave Massaro and James Vina as their 2 delegates, which kind of de facto makes Dale Lingenfelter an at-large member, which is kind of what we had done with other people from other counties that had 3.
Okay. We need a motion
So-
on that tonight?
I don't know that we do because they're appointed by the county.
Okay.
Probably, maybe to approve Dale as an at-large.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Dale Lingenfelter as an at-large member.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so Dale's approved as an at-large. So we would have talked a lot about this tonight, but Lynn couldn't be here. But there are two things. One, Tim, if you can work with Lynn and the secretary for our next, probably email it out before the next meeting, have a up-to-date list of, since now we've settled, all the existing members have been placed in the places they're going to be, maybe send out an updated list to the entire council, so everyone has that updated list. And then we can go about working on filling the vacancies. Tim and I talked a little bit about the vacancies this week when we were in here with the staff, and we have some suggestions that we're gonna ask the committee to consider. And I'm just gonna read them briefly, so everyone, for any input we have from anybody here that we can give back to the committee. Number one, so there are 4 different suggestions. Number one, representative of highly engaged agencies not currently represented on the Remsco. In other words, we should not look to agencies necessarily that already are represented for our primary place to look for new members, but look for places that are highly engaged but don't have members on. Number 2, people that bring a special talent or qualification to the Remsco, including lay members of the community, such as leaders at health-involved businesses. So for example, we'll be having a health lawyer, an accountant, a business leader that is a purchaser of health care, an insurance leader that administers health insurance. So we have another perspective other than our own around our table. Number 3, representative of health diversity outside of EMS, such as hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living, home care, so we can have their perspective represented at the Remsco. So if we're talking about an issue that involves assisted living facilities and transporting patients to and from, wouldn't it be nice if we had someone from that discipline here? So again, bringing another discipline. And the 4th one is a representative of public health, such as a county public health commissioner or senior staffer that brings knowledge of population health statistics and trends. So we're talking about the opioid crisis. If we have someone from one of the county departments of health here that can spout off all the statistics on what's happening with the opioid crisis, that would help advance us a little bit. So we don't have to get all of these types of folks. We have, I think, 6 at-large seats that are going to be vacant right now, but I can't guarantee that, but about that. So there's 4 different groups of people for us to consider. If we get a couple of those groups, certainly we don't want to exclude any EMS agencies from being on here, but also having some diversity, some outside membership. That may just make our conversations richer as we go forward for the future. So anyone have any thoughts they want to add to that, to give feedback to Lynn? Does anybody think it's a bad idea? Okay, so let the record show nobody's nodding their head it's a bad idea, so I'll take that as it's an okay idea. All right. Okay. Operational reports from Medical Director, Dr. Daly.
2 things. First is Fast ED, which is being used more and more by agencies for evaluation of stroke. I'm really impressed so far with how agencies are actually starting to use this, literally running through the app, coming up with a number, discussing that number with the resident or the nurse at the bedside and the CT scanner. And we're really seeing that the people that are coming in and going direct to scans are those Fast ED 4s, 5s, and 6s who really should be at the comprehensive center. So nice job by everybody starting to implement that. We will be studying it, and this is just in a quality assurance manner. We're going to do EMS Fast ED score, a resident Fast ED score in the emergency department, and the NIH stroke score in the emergency department, because our resident does as well. Oddly enough, this isn't really to see if EMS is doing it right. It's to see whether or not we can get compliance from the residents to actually do an objective score on every single stroke that they evaluate when they hit the bedside. And then we're going to actually use the gold standard is going to be the EMS Fast ED score. So we're going to do that a little bit backwards from the way we normally see it, and then compare that to the NIH score. So if you guys talk to the residents, don't tell them about that. Just saying. But the other thing that Tim already mentioned was the Pediatric Transportation Safety Day on the 6th of April. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to bring a lot to this region. And I think it's a great opportunity for us all to just recognize the challenges that come from trying to secure small people in equipment designed for large people. It's not easy to do, and frankly, most of us don't do it right all the time. So it'll be a great day of learning for people that can make it. So hopefully there'll be representatives from the majority of the region's agencies. So thank you.
Thanks. How many agencies here have appointed their pediatric education coordinator? Okay. So since Carol's not here to advertise, Carol volunteered to work with Deb Cupson. She's our regional representative. The state has called Tim and said to Tim, we really, really want everybody to get on board and having a pediatric education coordinator. It is I think several of us have come up with job descriptions for the people that we've put in the job. I know Carol and Deb plan on having a meeting and bringing them together so people can compare the job descriptions of what this person's going to do. As an agency that's done it, it's not really a huge, huge lift. It's making sure that we have the right equipment in the ambulance, making sure the people know how to use the equipment, making sure we do some annual training in pediatrics. It's basically making sure pediatrics doesn't get left out. The state's placing a lot of emphasis on this, and so on behalf of Carol and Deb, I would ask everybody to please, if you have not appointed one, Tim's got the sheets, right, you fill out, and Deb and Carol are going to build a database with all the people that are appointed into that role, and then they're going to start rolling out a way for everyone to get together, share ideas towards getting that implemented. Anything you would add on that, Tim?
I missed most of what you're saying, but if it pertains to PEC, no, we'd be happy to walk anybody through the process if they're interested. We have all the information here and we have the forms available.
All right, REMAC and academic, Dr. McHugh.
REMAC, basically everything that Dr. Gailey said, plus we had a presentation on the rescue pod and rescue CPR device, and discussion of adding Tylenol and ibuprofen Tylenol to the formulary and continue with the adjusted Toradol dosing.
Anything you can tell us about the rescue pod discussion? Yes, do it, don't do it, don't know yet.
My opinion was made years ago. I think Gailey's got a slightly different opinion. It's not a slam dunk, definitely do it, and it's not a slam dunk, definitely don't do it.
Yeah, I think at this point, we only have one agency in the region that's using the rescue pod. What we saw was a demonstration of the rescue
CPR.
Rescue CPR
With the
system,
suction cup.
which is a suction pump plunger device for manual CPR combined with the rescue pod. It hasn't been split up for one part or the other part. It's just being sold as a unit. It's being trialed in a couple of agencies. It looks like there probably is a Hawthorne effect, but has not been demonstrated anywhere to make a difference in outcomes. But it may make for some improved CPR efficacy. It's kind of hard to know.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for either Dr. Daly or Dr. McHugh? All right, next up is the treasurer, PJ.
I'm going to stand up here in the back just to show that some of the seniors in the back of the room still have some mobility.
That's okay.
All right, like I explained last month, we are trying to reformat and upgrade the financial report. It is a work in progress. So if you take a look, the first page is the balance sheet. Just put that aside for now, okay? It is what it is. And going along with Rich's presentation, what we're trying to do is to get this financial report in some sort of format so that it kind of coincides with our annual budget report. And historically, our monthly financial report has been very convoluted. It's hard to tell what money comes from where. So working with Dave as we speak to try to break out two separate entities in the financial report. One would be the training department, which I believe is a department all in itself. Because in our budget for the year, we have budgeted $140,000 worth of income from our training department, but we never really during the year see where that comes from. So we're trying to take a look and see, is the training department profitable? Not profitable? Is it going to generate the $140,000 income? One of the changes, however, is the fact that I've included the training coordinator and his assistant as part of the cost of the training department. Dave explained to me that when we originally formulated the budget, they were in the operating end. So long story short, we are budgeting or looking for $100,000 a year to come out of the training department versus the $140,000 because I've incorporated $40,000 worth of expense in the training department and taken it out of the operating department. So take a look at the format, don't necessarily look at the numbers. I believe that this will be a little more helpful to us. Every month we should have separate reports like this. One of the columns that I want to add is the year-to-date compared to last year-to-date as well, which is not on this form. So it's a work in progress. Dave and I are working at it, and hopefully by next month it'll be a little more clear. But any comments or suggestions that you have are certainly welcome.
So PJ, the training account and the operating account would add up to, we don't add them up with the consolidated sheet here, right? Currently.
Currently, you will notice that on the operating account,
Right.
okay, you'll see there's a line for training funds,
Right.
and that's a negative $39,000. That's currently where we are year-to-date.
So the sub ledger, if you would call it, for the training income statement
Yes.
is the back detail that is in the operating account on the training line.
Yeah, that line will come directly off the separate training.
Got it.
line
Okay.
account.
Did everybody understand how that account works? How these two fit together?
So we're looking at the end of the year to have $100,000, okay? But I want to try to show you where it's going to come from, hopefully, right, Rich?
Cross your fingers.
So nobody, everyone got no questions on it? Okay, cool. Anything else from the treasurer?
Nothing else.
Okay, there's no report from the QI. The next meeting is April 3rd. And I think that's the same day as the next academic meeting and REMAC meeting, correct? All right. CON committee, we do have an action tonight, so CON committee is met and Chairman Stairs is here.
Yep, the CON committee did have a issue or an item come before it since we last met. That item was a transfer of operating authority from Western Turnpike Rescue Squad to the Town of Groveland EMS. Again, the application was received, it was reviewed, it was deemed incomplete upon original submission. The items that caused it to be incomplete were not substantive. They were essentially boxes that hadn't been filled in. So it was a quick turnaround with a resubmission. It was deemed complete by the committee and forwarded to the Department of Health for fitness and competency review. The Department of Health conducted that fit and competency review and returned their findings to us, which is essentially that there is no bar to the fitness and competency of Gilderland EMS or the town of Gilderland EMS to receive the operating authority from Western Turnpike Rescue Squad. The committee met earlier this evening, and a motion was made and seconded and carried to bring forth this application for vote this evening. It is a roll call vote. The committee was in favor of forwarding this for a vote and approving the application. And the only thing that I'll mention is that while it seems like discussion may be a moot point, we actually have to make sure that we allow persons in conjunction with that vote an opportunity to make comments if they would like as part of our action this evening.
Thank you. Do you have anyone have any questions on the report?
I have a question. Are we approving the application, or are we accepting the state's finding of fitness and competency?
Yes, and yes.
Yes and yes?
Yes.
Okay.
2 votes or 1 Jim?
If it's unclear, that would be one large motion to accept the application as complete, or the report of the committee accepting the application as complete, and to accept the report from the State Department of Health that there is no bar to the fitness and competency for the transfer. And then again, just to reiterate, your vote in favor will ultimately result in Tim reaching out to DOH, informing of that vote, and they will proceed with the transfer of that operating authority subsequent to our vote.
I don't know if I need to clarify that or not. The CON committee did meet. They did deem the application complete. Their findings were forwarded to DOH. What this body needs to do tonight is simply vote on the findings of the fitness and competency review. I'm not sure if that's what Jim was trying to say or not. So there aren't really 2 votes or 2 actions. The application was deemed complete. That went to Dana Jonas. Your action tonight is to vote on the results of the F&C review.
All right. So, Jim, is that in the form of a motion at this point?
Sure.
All right. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
All right. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there anyone involved in the in this transfer of authority that is not a member that wishes to make a statement to the Remsco? Okay.
Anybody have a conflict of interest?
Does anyone have a conflict of interest they wish to declare? Okay. Secretary, if you would conduct the roll call vote.
I'll call everybody's name regardless of whether I have you marked present or not, just in case. Les Fremantle,
Yes.
Brian Wood,
Yes.
PJ Keeler,
Yes.
Anand Balasar,
Yes.
Stephen Brocato,
Yes.
Kathleen Allen,
Yes.
Skip Bevernitz.
Yes.
I still didn't say it right, did I?
Bevernitz.
Kevin Robert,
Yes.
Tracy Weir,
Yes.
Dale Lingenfelter, James Vina,
Yes.
Dave Massaro, Rob McHugh,
Yes.
Michael Daly,
Yes.
Stephen Kroll,
Yes.
Anne Marie Cross,
Yes.
Carol Brandt, Lynn Kane, Jim Stairs,
Yes.
Steve Retzlaff,
Yes.
Jeffrey Williams,
Yes.
Maria Walker,
Yes.
Scott Bowman, yes. That's it.
Okay.
Everyone present voted yes. It's unanimous.
Okay. The motion is approved. Thank you to the CON committee for your work. Thank you, Scott. Okay. Next up is
Just one more.
yeah.
The CON committee has, I guess, always attempted to have 5 members on it. As you'll recall, David Teen passed this previous year, and he was a member of the committee. So as we essentially moved forward with the changes in membership on the REMA board, we didn't choose to try and find someone for that position at that time. But again, we would like to get the committee back up to 5 active members. That comes with just an adviso that unfortunately this committee is one of the few things that REMO has to do that actually has a timetable mandated by the state, so that the point something comes before us, we have a statutory responsibility to act on that in a certain time frame. So it's something you have to be able to be willing to set aside time if you become part of the committee. And the only other thing that I'll bring up is that in the course of the review of this application, Brian Wood, who was a member of the committee, indicated that he would probably not be able to continue to fulfill those obligations as a result of his change with his employer. So we'll officially accept Brian's retirement from the committee, And also in the course of that change, we've accepted Scott Bowman as a new committee member. So the committee currently stands as Scott Bowman, Steve Retzlaff, Jim Vina, and myself. And I know Scott is working with the survey information that has come back, and there may be someone out there who has actually expressed an interest in sitting on that in the future, but that's where we stand at the moment.
Am I correct that the Scott's appointment has to be formalized by the chair? That appointments for committees come from the chair, or do they come from the committee chairs?
No, according to the bylaws, I believe they come from you.
Okay, so then with the committee's recommendation, Scott Bowman is now a member of the CON committee, and we have an open spot on the CON committee. Should anyone be interested in fulfilling that spot, please let me know. I think Jim did a good job describing the responsibility. Do we have any CONs coming next month, Ken?
Not to my knowledge.
So we have a few weeks to find, we don't have someone tonight, but anyone that's interested, please let me know.
I will tell you that in the surveys that I got back, Dave Massaro, he's not here tonight, obviously, but he did express interest in the CON committee.
Well, then I'm writing that down, and we can reach out to him if no one else wants to. Kevin?
And it's the only
I'll do it.
committee.
I'll go back on it, what the heck?
All right. Well, we can have 6 members, right? There's no cap, so Kevin, if you would like to go back on, that's great, let's do that, but we'll also reach out to Dave and see if he's interested as well, since he's put that on the survey, okay? Thank you. All right, that takes us to, okay, I got lost in the agenda. Correspondence. I'm sorry, DOH, there were no disciplinary actions tonight. Course applications for information only. The HBCC EMT original refresher starting May 21, and paramedic refresher starts June 19th. Early in the agenda, you saw that there is 2 remote courses starting the spring. The spring day starts on April 16th, and the summer night starts on 6/1. And I believe the summer night is a special for college students home from summer class. It's 2 months, it's fast, it's furious.
Wham bam thing.
And
No margaritas.
right, but don't quit but it is. It was pretty successful last summer. I know my agency sponsored 3 college students to take the class, not knowing what happened, and they all left for college, and they all came home Christmas time with their EMT cards and started riding, and they're all coming home in spring break to ride. So for us, it's been, as a volunteer agency, successful. Is there going to be a summer slower paced course, or?
That's, actually, we usually don't run a summer
Okay.
course, that's just, we just threw that in because we
Got
had a
it.
request.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, correspondence, we already dealt with the Schenectady County EMS committee letter. So committee reports, the executive committee did not take any actions that need to be voted on or reported on. So finance committee, the finance committee did meet today, and we met with our broker, Jim Watkinson from RBC Wealth Management, who we have not seen in a while. We reviewed a report on our investments, and I think we're happy to say that in each of the last 5 years, our investments have outperformed the indexes that the brokerage house uses as their baseline. So we have done well with our investments. A good percentage of our investments are in bonds. That's actually the majority of our investments in bonds, and only a very small part is in stocks. There is a full report. It's this black folder that Tim left some copies out if anyone wants one. We are going to have a 1-pager for you at the next month's meeting that explains it in 1 page, so you don't have to read. I think this is 17 pages of numbers. But if you have any questions on the 17 pages of numbers, please direct it to Kevin, PJ, or myself. We'll also be coming back with some recommendations after we meet again, because we are holding a very large amount of cash in the broker's account. About 1/3 of our monies 29% of our monies are not currently invested.
and the broker's gonna come back with some investment recommendations. Probably, given, he talked to us about the economy, probably given where the economy is and the tea leaves of where things are going, they think we should keep with our current strategy, which is do most of our investing in bonds. And so, very likely, he'll come back with us some recommendations that we'll bring back here to invest some of that cash in bonds, and that'll be coming in the future. Nothing at the New York State EMS Council. The Remsco is going to be meeting in May. There has been some things that have been going on the sidelines. May 19th is the EMS day where we were asked to all go out to the communities, and I know Tim said that we're going to have Remo's going to do a Stop the Bleed, try to do a Stop the Bleed at Crossgates Mall. That's a EMS for the community day. It's not bring them into our stations, that's going out, and every agency is asked to participate in that. We have the EMS Memorial coming up, and I think all agencies should have received a letter from the state asking them to come. There are 7 names going up, all FDNY members. They really do count on our region turning out a good number of people just because we're so close by. So if your agency can spare a crew and an ambulance or a vehicle to come down that day, the Department of Health would really appreciate it. And there's a lot of work going on in the Safety Committee on fitness for duty. And the Safety Committee is looking at national resources on the ability of, it started out as the work hours discussion. When is it safe to work and when is it not safe to work, and should there be limitations on hours? That's been expanded to an overall fitness for duty. There will be a survey coming out to all agencies that will be asking agencies to let us know, do you have a fitness for duty policy? What is it? How many hours do people work? Do you compare hours with other neighboring agencies, just to try to get a lay of the land about what people are doing in dealing with provider fatigue and allowing them to get sleep and scheduling. So that's something you will probably get in the next few weeks with an email with a link, probably from Tim, because they're probably going to send it to Tim and ask him to send it out to each of the agencies. All right, Nurses Committee, Anne-Marie?
We met last Thursday, March 21st. Had another discussion about linen and the increased costs of linen and losing linen from all the hospitals. Albany Med is currently evaluating disposable linen, and they brought some samples of what they are actually looking at. Nothing has been decided on their side yet, but we're just looking at possibly doing that. Yeah, we all kind of passed it around.
Yeah, I think the Nurses Committee input was extremely important for decision making for the people who think that.
Yeah, we all
Big
kind of.
thumbs down.
And it really, yeah. And I'm not sure that it was really that much of a cost savings when you really looked at that, how much we actually had to pay for the others, but more to come on that. Again, discussed a lot about our behavioral health and mental health patients and substance abuse and just the increased violence in EDs, and a lot of that discussion about sharing our kind of sad stories of how every day where someone is assaulted by a patient like that. So really increasing our security in the departments, and many hospitals have police presence, and it's just an ongoing discussion. We talked a lot about stroke. Dr. Daly just reported out on Fast ED, stroke app, so I won't repeat that. We did talk about the Comprehensive Stroke Center, which Albany Med is the only one in the region, and there's an endovascular ready center and then a primary center. We talked a little bit about Glens Falls now being a primary center, but not a comprehensive. Drug shortage was ketamine. That's the only one, right, Dr. Dooley, that you talked about? And then it led into a discussion about ketamine and how nurses cannot administer IM or sub-Q ketamine, but that we actually decided that we would write a letter. Myself and a couple of the other nurses will be putting together a letter to submit to the New York State Board of Nursing to ask them to reconsider that, because we really, it is a good drug, and we're hoping that they will look at that. It's been a long-standing that they absolutely said that we cannot administer an IM or sub-Q. We talked about ride-alongs with EMS. Albany Med and St. Peter's is starting to do this. They're just starting really to get this going, but I don't believe that it's, they've actually done it yet, but they're talking about the agencies that they're gonna be doing that with, just to increase the collaboration and rapport with the EMS agencies. So it sounded like a good idea that way. I thought maybe we would kind of tag on to that. Talked about EMS week in May and some of the things that we would be doing for that, and shared some of the things that we've always done from each hospital side. And then we talked about asking if Remo would consider sponsoring. We have an ENA conference in April. I did reach out, so we had met on Thursday, so I reached out and finally contacted the ENA president today based on our meeting, just to ask if Remo would consider sponsoring either like having appetizers or something at the event and having it be like a Remo kind of thing. But when I spoke with her today, she said that it's only a 2-day conference. It's April 11th and 12th. It's a Thursday and Friday. It's at Saratoga. It's at the Holiday Inn in Saratoga. And she said that there was already someone else that was going to be sponsoring it, but she asked if I would just at least request that maybe we sponsor a to send one person to the national conference, which is in Austin, Texas. And it would be really just for the actual conference itself, and it's $520 for a member of ENA and $620 for a non-member. So I did say that I would bring it here. And then what we would do is we would send it out to all the regional hospitals and just say that if they looked at somebody who might be interested in maybe either wasn't able to afford it or really wanted to go, and of course they would pay the rest of their own expenses, but it would just be for that. And then we would submit those names so that we just kind of, just kind of off the cuff today, just talked about how we would maybe choose somebody. And that's something we'll have to talk about a little bit more, but we would reach out to all of our hospitals and then submit the names of the people who, number one, would be interested in maybe going if it could be sponsored. So,
With the nurses committee, the group that would make the recommendation on who would go?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And would that person report back to the nurses committee on significant learnings and findings that would be of benefit to
Yes.
the council?
And that's what we do whenever we
Okay.
sponsor anything, even our own hospitals. We send them to a conference and then they come back and they do some education on the topics that were presented. So
Should we consider that a motion for the Remsco from you?
I would like to consider that a motion. I
Okay.
wasn't sure how to.
Well, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
When is the national conference?
It's in September, so I didn't know if we were going to vote tonight or you wanted to think about it and we could talk about it next time or not.
So the motion, Jim's got a comment.
No, I was just gonna say, clearly, whoever's gonna attend this, that's probably gonna just pay their registration, I would imagine.
It is.
There's other
Right.
fees that they're gonna be responsible for.
They'd be responsible for like airfare, because it's in Texas, and then probably the hotel.
All right, so the motion is to authorize a grant for the amount that Anne Marie mentioned for a member or non-member. And if you could repeat those amounts, just for the
It's
record.
$520 if you are a ENA, Emergency Nurses Association member, and $620 if you're a non-member.
For a person recommended by the nurses committee, so.
I have a question.
Go ahead. No, but my suggestion was gonna be, let's make it a set number that would offset the cost. But I think what's most important is what's gonna come back to the region from this, and that there's a commitment from the hospital that will get the most benefit from it, sending this person. So my suggestion to the motion would be, let's make it $500 to assist with the registration cost of the conference. And that the hospital that's sending the nurse must make up the difference to send them successfully. Because the hospital will gain a significant benefit from having the nurse go to a national conference, and we need to make sure that they're on board and will be listening to the information that's gained.
I'm not sure, what the policy or protocol is for education funds for the other hospitals. I mean, I can speak for Saratoga, we do fund some of that for each person, but I don't know what the other hospitals or how they do it. I'm not sure that they're that generous to do.
what Jeff just said, it might block people from going. My alternative perspective on it would be, it also, because we're demonstrating the regional commitment to the education of
The
our
hospital
nurses,
might do that.
might prompt the facilities to say, hey, we should be working to support our nurses' education as well.
I agree, I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't-
Sure that all the hospitals-
I wouldn't think it would be our job or concern as to whether or not each individual hospital has such a policy that supports their people going. If they don't want to do it, then don't send anybody to the nurses committee as a suggestion. I mean, if Saratoga Hospital is the only one that had the funds to do it, then that's fine, then we'll take one applicant for it. But maybe if we do it again in the future, they see that that hospital got some benefit out of it, and maybe they do it the next time, so.
I think the hospital probably won't be bullied into it if we say, it's like, we are supporting this much for you to send someone.
Right.
We're a smaller organization than you are, pony up and
Right.
pay for your staff to go
Yeah,
to the
and if they opt not to do it, they opt not to do it.
We're helping you
I don't
out,
think it's our
yes.
concern. Yeah.
So do I sense the motion may be amended by the person making it? Do you agree with that?
I do. I
Okay.
agree with it, yeah. I
Okay.
just, I would hate to have it end there if the hospitals don't, live up to their end of it, but, certainly it's, I think it's
So-
worth putting out there for sure.
All right, so the motion has been amended to spending $500, and with the understanding the hospital will make up the difference. Is the second still present? All right, any more discussion?
I have a question. So
We
the
have none.
people that are EMS providers that are also nurses, there are a group of them, are all those people eligible? What would make them eligible really to participate? Because those are the people that are going to benefit the most for us, not just for the hospital. So is there a way we can connect that?
I reached out to the ENA president today, and most of us are connected to a hospital, but of course, there's certainly nurses who ride EMS who maybe aren't connected to a
It's a great
hospital.
question.
Of course, yeah.
Why
I
can't you
think
do
we should
that?
put,
Why can't
and
you
we've
do-
got a few months before we put it out. We've got till September, so I think we certainly could.
Why can't you
What
do
about
the same
Carroll,
thing
for
as
example? If Mohawk wants to sponsor Carroll, that would be where you
Thank you, Dean.
Yep.
There's a whole
Yeah.
list of
Yep.
people.
Yeah, there's a list of.
Thank you, Dean.
very good nurses.
All right, any more discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion is agreed to. Anything else from the nurses committee?
No, that's it.
MCI committee? All right, I think we handled everything for membership that we could with Quinn not being here.
Can I just say one thing? Just to
Yes,
clarify?
Scott.
So just for clarification, there are,
So, just to clarify, based on Dean's point, which I think is really important, we were also talking about nurses that were members of EMS agencies, and I think we just restricted it to nurses who are only hospital employees in the motion.
I thought we said that we were gonna open it up to any.
We
Didn't
do it.
mention like Carol
To anybody
Grant.
who was a member or non-member of the ENA. That's why the difference in funds. And we just wanted to make sure that whoever their primary organization was also going to pitch in and help send them.
Is everyone comfortable if Jeff's clarification for the record is in the record and we behave in that fashion?
Or else use the primary organization. could be-
Okay, we got it.
Primary
What
organization.
Jeff just said is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying it, Jeff. All right, nominating committee probably has no report. Oh, wait, we're back to membership.
just to clarify on the membership, the Greene County still needs a rep. I don't, who makes that decision for you guys? The whole-
EMS council.
Can you just make sure you bring that back to them?
Yeah, it's just me, there's nobody else.
So there's not gonna be another person?
Not
In the near
right
future
now,
anyway?
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then there are 7 at-large seats open.
Okay, thank you, Scott. All right, so Maria does not have a report. Maria has also expressed interest in not serving as nominating committee chair. Is that right in the future?
I can for a while, but yes, if somebody else would.
Okay, so if someone else would be interested in being the nominating committee
Until we
chair.
get a replacement.
Until what, October?
So, obviously, it's a once-a-year responsibility. If anybody would like to be nominating committee chair, please see me. Awards committee, it's the season. Brian Wood.
Yeah, we, obviously it's the last minute, like we always do, we haven't got a lot of nominations in. I just encourage you, from being a past award winner, that, you know, it means a lot to people when they know they've gone up against 7 or 8 people of high quality in the region. And there's really no reason that every agency can't sit down and you know, just write in 1 or 2. It'd really be good, I think, for us when you talk about looking at our cooperation with other agencies, certainly the Nurses Committee and the Physicians Council. I mean, there's some great docs and there are some great nurses that really, I mean, you know, that really do a great job. And we seem to focus a lot on the Leadership Award, the Agency of the Year, the BLS and ALS provider. And, you know, just go back and talk to your people and ask and get that word out, you know, dig deep. Think of a nurse in one of the local EDs that are there. You know, last year was a struggle. We had, I think, 1 from each or 2. So, you know, let's try to get those up. It's not that hard. I mean, sadly, I think that we have a lot of lazy people in EMS. But if we can just, there's a lot of good leadership here, and if we can just go back and kind of crack the whip and just say, hey, listen, you know, just get us 2. I've asked my guys to get me 3 or 4 of them, and we might struggle a little bit. I don't expect the people that we may put up may be of a quality that would be to some other ones. But at least put the people up. I think it's good for your organization when they know that there are people are being recognized for it. We're going to do the same thing that we did this year. We might not, we are not going to go outside like we did last. We have a better representation of the region. We have representation of Rensselaer, Greene, Columbia, Albany. If there's somebody from Schenectady like to sit in and grade these, I'd be happy to get them on, and basically each person will on their own review the things and give them a number grade, and then we'll add them together, and so it's good. So please help me out with this. I think it's very, very important. My agency's won Agency of the Year. I've had several staff underneath me win awards over the last several years, and I think it means a lot to those people to have a large group of people to put in, and it takes, you know, 30 minutes to write a good essay. Also keep in mind, a lot of people don't know this, that the state form is terrible. There is rules and there's direction in the state website that allows you to write the nomination as an essay. It's very clear, it needs to be double spaced, needs to be 12-point, needs to, you know, be under, I think, 3,000 words or something like that. So you can follow those directions. Way easier to do it than trying to type out stuff into 3 different boxes and submit it. So help me out so I don't have to whine. I'm going to start bugging people every day. You're going to see an email come out from Tim or myself and on the Facebook to just try to get it done. And if you guys can just reach out to your bosses and your supervisors and say, hey, rattle some cages. It doesn't have to come from bosses, it can come from regular providers. So.
Could you reiterate the deadline?
The deadline is April 1st. At what time, Tim?
Close of business. Stroke of midnight.
Okay, so
and it's
even
gotta be
if Tim's already gone home, if you email it to him at 11:59, he'll take it.
It's good. Speaking of Brian's points, I did make another plea today. I sent it out to the region. I've sent out a plea every week for about the last 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and I did include what Brian just mentioned. You can use the form, or you can type it up, and that information was included in the email I sent out this morning.
Okay, thank you, Brian, Tim. Nothing from the Bylaws Committee, I believe, and you note that the Patient Movement and Bariatrics Committee is no longer listed. That committee is now at least temporarily set aside. The survey that was done about agencies interested in working on a region-wide strategy came back with only 3 or 4 agencies at all interested. Should anyone have interest in resurrecting that any time in the future, we certainly want to have that conversation again, but we just weren't getting anywhere, so we set it aside for now. County reports, Albany County.
We're going to be doing kind of a little large-scale incident preparation and training on April 13th for the Helderberg-Hudson Half Marathon. It's going to take place in the towns of New Scotland and Bethlehem in the city of Albany. We've met, and we're going to kind of use this in a little bit of a preparation for some better EMS and organization for the marathon in October. The the physician part's always been well-run, but then the Albany Fire end of it's been well-run, but the participation with the other agencies leading up to the finish line has been kind of laxed, as I found out last year when I got involved in it. So that's gonna be, it'll be kind of a cooperative, unified command thing where we'll test, some emergency management stuff with my new position, and then, working with the EMS agencies and some of the access to the trail. Albany Fire is gonna have some of their stuff out. We're gonna utilize the Delmar Bethlehem EMS station, which is brand new and won't even be officially open to the public yet. And then the town of New Scotland, the sheriff's got some vehicles that he's gonna use on the trail. So, PJ, one other thing that we might have to do when in regards to the MCI plan and the MCI committee is we just did our annual or biannual comprehensive emergency management plan update, and one of the things that were brought to our attention is that the MCI plan is a little outdated with some of the agencies that are no longer here or whatever. I suspect that might be the case in other counties, as they're supposed to have some sort of EMS component to that.
We actually just updated it last year with the agencies and counties that responded.
Yeah.
So if you want to send me the list, it's a fluid process, we
Yeah.
can get that changed.
Okay, yeah, so that was brought up, I mean, I just pawned it off that we didn't do it with somebody else. That's it.
Thank you, Brian. Columbia County, PJ? Greene County?
We're hosting Geo Henderson's diabetic CME on April 15th. We got great feedback when it was in Albany County, so we're going to do it in Greene County. We can't afford EMAC and Bolios, but we will have some tasty treats there. We also were approached, Greene County EMS Inc. was approached by the towns of Lexington and Prattsville to present a budget for potentially operating an ambulance in that area. It has been an ongoing issue as far as ambulance service in that portion of the county. Currently, they contract with the town of Ashland to provide ambulance service, and their average response time from dispatch to at the patient's door is between 18 and 22 minutes. So they're looking to reduce that. So we presented a budget to them on Thursday, and we're hoping to hear back from them in the next month or so about their decision.
Thanks. And Tim, if you'll note for the agenda that Aiden is still listed as Greene County rep, and just that changes. All right, Rensselaer County. All right, Saratoga, Kevin?
No report.
Schenectady, Jim?
No report.
All right. Okay, new business, we've already completed the trading coordinator presentation. We've completed the transfer operating authority. I think the last item here is expenditure requests. Tim?
Let's skip to the last one on that, which is the $250 donation to Kenny Martin for the National EMS Memorial Bike Ride.
So Mr. Secretary, has that been approved?
I don't know, it seems that maybe some people might have sent.
That's why I'm bringing it up. I'd like to have it voted on tonight, because I do not think we met the minimum requirement via responses. So I think you need to make the motion and vote on it tonight.
Yeah, I think just to make it clean, it's just
Okay.
do it. I'll make the motion that we give $250
Scott
to Kenny
makes a
Martin.
motion. Is that Jim seconding? Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? Aye. I didn't know if that was a no. So what Scott was saying is, I know that it was a little clunky the way we made those motions, and so I appreciate, Jim, you working with us and restraining by email. We sat down and we read the bylaws. We're trying to do it exactly the way the bylaws tell us to do it. So we'll have it right the next time. But it does require unanimous vote. That means if someone doesn't vote, we're going to have to bring it back here. Obviously, this one was not an emergency, so, but in an emergency case, if we're going to do a vote by email, we got to track that person who hasn't voted down and.
That's not a bylaw thing, that's a statutory thing.
Right.
That's
So the bylaws, right.
Yeah, just to be clear though, it's not, we can't just change that in our bylaws and get around that. That's for nonprofits, it's a part of the state nonprofit law.
Okay. So, next, Tim, expenditure request, office furniture and stuff for EMS week.
Yeah, I come to the council tonight asking for a little bit of money to purchase a little bit more furniture for the new office here. I did have some money budgeted, coupled in with the moving costs, and we basically exhausted that. but we still need to fill this place. We just don't need to fill it. We need to bring in some furniture that we can actually use. We're in pretty desperate need of a desk for one of the offices. We need some bookshelves, we need some file cabinets, and a storage cabinet. And the other day, there's a law office right around the corner here, Bosman Associates. They stopped in and asked if they could speak with us for a minute. They're downsizing. It's a mom-pop organization, and they're basically going to be retiring, semi-retiring, and working out of their house. They asked me if I'd be interested in any furniture. So I spent a half hour over there meeting everybody and walking through the office. Law firm quality furniture, but I don't think it's going to be very pricey. They have some beautiful bookshelves, they have some beautiful file cabinets, a great desk, and a storage cabinet. So I'm hoping that we can do our shopping from about 20 feet this way, as opposed to ordering it online and waiting 8 weeks for it to be delivered.
So do you have an amount you wish to ask us to set aside?
I'm guesstimating, I'd like to ask the council for up to about $4,000. I do not think it will cost that much, but I'd like to build in a buffer.
Okay. Do we have
$10,000.
someone want to make a motion?
No, seriously, Tim has been skipping on every single thing in the building since
we have.
moved from Central Avenue.
Okay,
Give the guy 10 grand to get what he needs.
Well, do you want to, well, he asked for 4.
Can I?
So
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll gladly up
You
that.
can rewind and ask for something different. but-
I'd gladly up
Let me ask you a
that.
question though. If you had 4,000 and you can get all of their stuff, does that give you everything that you need, or do you still need more furniture on top of whatever they have?
What I saw, I think that's what we need for here now. I'd also like to get some wall art here and some other stuff, and Steve heard some of the ideas, and Scott heard some of the ideas I have. I really didn't know how much to ask for, because they really don't know how much they're going to price it at yet. I threw a figure out there. I wouldn't mind if you guys increase that a little bit,
Define a little. We're putting you
give
on
me
the
a little
spot.
I second Dean's motion.
PJ has a.
PJ's got a
Can I
comment.
just make a comment? We have a budget of $8,000 for the year, okay? We've only spent $2 so far. So
Well, I factored in the
my
move in that budget
suggestion is-
too.
What's that?
I factored in the moving costs in that too, I thought, so.
I think that was separate, but anyway, that's
So it sounds like you have 6,000 right now.
6. We have a moving cost of $4,000, and you have a budget of $8,000 for office equipment,
Okay.
okay? So, the moving expense, I believe it was what?
20,
Not 4.
the moving, I'd have to look, I'm guesstimating about 2,500 maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So anyway, all I'm asking is stay within budget.
Which leaves me how much?
Well, 6,000 for office equipment.
I can live with that. So maybe I don't have to come to you guys tonight.
So, all right, so,
Never mind.
okay,
But
so
I have
you've
one more.
got $6,000 to work with, but realizing that if you need something for the office later in the year, you'll come back and ask
Yes.
Remsco for it. Is that
Yes.
fine by everybody?
I thought I exhausted it, my apologies.
Okay.
The other thing I have, I've come to you folks and asked for an expenditure request for EMS week, T-shirts and hats. I have the printout on the table. I'd ask you to grab one on the way out with our ideas of what we're going to do for EMS week. A lot of it involves agency participation and folks coming in here, and folks doing different things and raffles and other things. But there'll be awards for them to come in too. And we were thinking T-shirts and hats. And I don't need a lot of those, but I was thinking maybe 50 T-shirts and 50 baseball hats. We priced them today, and it would be somewhere between $700 and $1,000. What we're going to get are the national EMS copyrighted T-shirts. If you've seen them, they're really nice. But we have an option to have our logo imprinted on the back of the shirts as well, so it adds a little additional cost there. So I'm thinking probably about $1,000 should cover our expenses for T-shirts and hats for EMS week, and whatever we don't hand out goes in my bottom drawer, and they go to our pharmacy interns and anybody else that wants a T-shirt or hat from Remo.
So is this there's not a budgeted item?
That is not a budgeted
Okay.
item.
So could maybe someone make a motion for 1,000 for this?
I'm gonna make a motion, but I'd like you to spend more.
Of course you would.
Of course I would, because that's what I do. But what I'd really like you to do is, I know that a few years ago, you went out and got T-shirts and, or some polo shirts and things like that for the staff. I don't know if those have been updated lately. and
No,
whether or
but we
not
did
staff
talk
needs
about
more.
that. We did talk about that.
That's in the process of, we're gonna get nice uniforms and job shirts and stuff for the staff to be uniform when they're teaching classes and stuff. There is another, we've actually gotten requests from people on the outside that wanna get a Remo, you know, like you had said, medical director, Remo medical director shirt or something that they can wear if they
We've
belong,
talked
or
about
whatever
that
it
for
is.
years. I'd say anything we can do to get that up and
Well,
running.
If you want to make that motion and include that now, I was going to come back and approach you guys in another month or two about that, but if we could get all that business done now, while you're in a giving mood,
That's in the works, and also for people who wanna order it, they can, like, the provider can order a Remo t-shirt if they take an EMT class or whatever it is.
All right.
So,
So, here's, the motion is $2,000 for EMS Week giveaways, updated clothing for staff, as well as to set up an online access
marketplace?
embroidering and marketplace kind of thing where people can get Remo gear.
Well, there's another component to that.
That's coming up.
Okay, I mean, it's there, it's just waiting to be approved.
All right. So the motion from Dr. Daly is 2,000?
2,000.
Is there a second for that motion? Okay. Is there any discussion of that motion? Okay, hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
thank you.
Furniture just went down to 4.
So I believe that concludes all the new business on the agenda, but it looks like Jim has another item for new business.
Yes, Dave Mazzaro called me and asked me to bring this up on his behalf. He identified an issue last week where Remo doesn't have any ability right now to accept payments online or by plastic. So there seems to be a lot of money that changes hands here, a lot of cash that changes hands, and there are some instructors that have been, and staff members who have expressed some discomfort in handling as much cash as moves in and out of here. So I deferred the details on that to Rich and to Tim, who have looked into this, but I do have a motion because they have looked into it and determined what it'll cost to make that shopping cart module active on our website.
Okay.
So do you want me to defer to them first or do the motion?
If we could speak to it for a second. This is something that's been on our radar for quite a while now. I don't like the idea that when we have an E&T class on registration night, people show up with $700 bills and somebody has to take that, put it in a bank envelope and remember to put it in the safe. Or somebody drops a check off at the front desk and it gets shuffled under some paperwork and we find it 4 days later, something like that. It's been something we've researched. It's something that I was eventually going to approach the council for. I tasked Rich with going back to our webmaster to find out what he needs to do to make an online payment plan happen for us. And basically, that's what Jimmy was speaking to. He told us what it would entail, how long it would take, and basically an approximate, if not to the dollar, cost. It's about roughly $1,759, I believe, to make that payment option available. It's something I firmly believe we need here right now. I don't like the idea of cash trading hands, envelopes sitting in the safe in an office here, or checks being bounced around like that. And everything else is done online now. We just need to update our website, so we offer that option to our clients.
Okay. Jim, you make that a motion?
Yes, just so you know what the costs were, the development cost to activate and build out the module was $1,500 and the licensing fee was $249. So it comes up to $1,749, but I'd like to make a motion for up to $2,000 to empower Tim and Rich to get our webmaster to do what's necessary to accept online payments.
Second to that motion. Okay, any discussion?
What's the annual cost after that, $249?
No, as far as I know, he told me that once it's all set up, and it just integrates with the website. So in other words, you can go to a marketplace, you can pay for a CPR class, you can pay for an EMT class, you can pay for a Remo t-shirt, a hat, whatever you want, we'll sell it to you. And it's more secure, so we're not handling money.
So it becomes part of our website.
And it's directly deposited.
Yeah.
Okay, it's directly.
A direct
So there is a
deposit.
bank part of it and.
Yeah, directly deposited. Dave gets a report. There's no money in our hands, which is good. Like Tim said, you've got a class of 20, 30 people all holding cash. And one of the instructors last month was like, I don't like handling all this money while I'm trying to get the yellow form signed and stuff. But it also gives the ability to get something. And we can also put in he said you can put a little shipping calculator in there so they can get it shipped if they're not, say they don't want to pick it up. It'll ship right to their location, right from Remo or whatever. So that way they can get whatever they want from us and they don't have to worry about paying in cash and showing up here and giving it to Courtney or Steve or something like that.
Just for clarification then, we're talking not just about paying for registration fees, but
Whatever.
potentially buying items.
Whatever you want.
Because my original question was gonna be relative to QuickBooks, because we have QuickBooks and at my other job, we take QuickBook payments and all we do is, we don't pay any fee other than the percentage that you pay for a
Is it on the
credit card.
website? Is it through your website?
No, but
Okay.
it doesn't, it can be. It can take you to a QuickBooks link to do that. We just don't currently use it for that purpose. You can either type it in manually online, or you can swipe it through the thing connected to a.
I think the
The
only
device.
thing that I will say, we talked about this with Dave, I don't think Dave's up to speed to handle that end, the back end of it. We're talking about just the front end that goes automatically into a certain account, so we don't have to do anything, and Dave just sees the money being deposited by who. The QuickBooks, that might be a little bit more of a jump from where we're at right now with the back end, because he doesn't use any online options or any kind of connectivity from the
Or reporting.
QuickBooks. I'm just, we looked at this before.
I digress,
So,
yeah.
but it is a nice feature because then you can go in and pay for the courses and not have to have, and then we know right away who's paid, there's no confusion. Some students also kind of play the bait and switch, like, I paid you. And it's like, and the instructor's like, we have to find the instructor. Maybe the instructor dropped it off the other day, we just don't know yet, so there's a little bit of a lag time. And it would make things a little bit easier, and anything you wanted to purchase, you could.
You would still accept payment from somebody that maybe doesn't have a card, I assume, right?
Oh, of course, yeah, this will just cut down on those
The
number of
numbers, yeah.
transactions.
Yeah, good.
Any more discussion?
Just a comment, quick comment, Steve, just research and make sure, because usually there's a credit card charge.
There's gonna be a percentage.
Somebody's gonna pay $700.
Yeah,
for
well,
tuition
Tim will
bill.
update you guys on.
may end up, they'll subtract that.
Yeah.
That's right, so you're gonna lose a couple percent.
Yeah.
So that means the $700 EMT tuition is now
Well,
$679.
Well, it's not really, I don't think it's a matter of letting us know, I just told Tim, we just gotta make sure that we adjust our prices accordingly,
Yep.
so that. when
So
the
EMT
3%
class would be 720.
$20.
All right, so any other comments on the motion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries, and Tim and Rich will move forward with this.
Down to $2,000.
Yes, Jim?
Yeah, just a question on the new business items. Was there a time constraint or some reason that we actually tried to do that Ken Martin thing online as opposed to just bringing it to the city?
Tim?
The reason I sent it out is Kenny emailed it to me, and I thought there was. That's why I sent it to you guys via email.
I think that's a good point, that we should not do business online unless there is a time constraint.
Yeah, it's the only reason I did that.
Because there's still a couple feet of snow, he's probably not doing the ride this month. That's a good point.
Yeah, and my secondary suggestion to that would be is that it seems like something that we've determined is going to be worthwhile. We support that several years in a row. Moving forward, perhaps we can include that as a budget item so that it simply is a, at the point he asked for it, the funds are already there, and we just go forward.
Mr. Treasurer, maybe next year we budget money for the National EMS Bike Ride? That's a really great idea. One of the things that has been discussed here is we still don't have a policy for, we every once in a while get a request to make a donation in memory of someone, in support of someone that's in the EMS community that's going through difficult times. We do need it was suggested at the last meeting when we passed one of these that we have a committee. If anyone would be interested in serving on a committee and coming up with a policy on how we disperse funds like that, and then we could build an annual budget for both things like the EMS bike ride, which are positive things, but also for the not so positive things where sometimes we provide support. So Scott just whispered, nope. So if anyone's interested in working on that committee, that would be really great. Please let me know. We could use a chair for that ad hoc group as well. Okay, I'm going to write down that we need to do that. Say it louder so people can hear it.
Well, it sounds like a good job for the finance committee. Isn't that what the finance committee does, is finance?
All right.
Congratulations.
Is there any other new business? Is there any old business?
Just a point of clarification, we were talking earlier in the meeting about American Heart Association and e-cards and stuff like that. All training centers have to be fully transitioned by December 2019, but it's also subject to the training center renewal date. Our renewal date, I think, is August, so we have to be up and running with our e-cards by August. So, took us a little while to get there, but we will be up and running with them.
Thank you. Any items from the floor? Yep.
I just want to thank everybody again for the award. It was a big surprise. I had no idea, and thank you for the gift card. It's been my pleasure serving for over the past 3 years, and I've learned a great deal from everyone, and I appreciate all of your support, so thank you.
Okay. So one more item before we go, that's the next meeting date. I have just learned that our stenographer, Terry, is unavailable on April 22nd. She has been with us for almost for every meeting for years now. And I know that she doesn't want to miss a meeting, but she can't make it. She does not have backup for that evening. So we have to figure out what to do. I would throw that to Tim to whether or not we just videotape that meeting and not have a stenographer, or whether we have alternate meeting date. I don't know that we can find a stenographer very easily to substitute for you. If you could have, you would have already probably given us one. So what is the will of the group of what we would do for that meeting? Well, I guess, well,
No.
we could.
No.
We are videotaping the session. If we're required to have minutes, can the minutes be produced from the videotape?
Yeah, I was going to say, can you do it later?
Terry?
Wow. I don't know the quality of the so that's the issue for me. Is the
It's
quality
pretty good.
of the audio. An extra Monday in April would go.
There's 5 weeks in,
Yeah, we
there's
could
5
do it
Mondays.
There is indeed 5 Mondays in April.
I'm
That's correct.
available the Monday before and the Monday after. I'm just not available.
So,
I make a motion that we move the April's meeting to April 29th.
I'll second.
I like Jim's.
Then don't come. Or you can just quit.
Before we do that, Easter is the
21st.
So you know what, our meeting is currently the day after Easter, so we would move it to a week later than Easter. All right.
I can't start
That's
the
school
final.
break,
What?
that's why.
Dr. Dillon, I cannot do the final.
Okay.
We have to-
And actually, all right, so we have a number of choices. We move the meeting date, we videotape it, and find a way to transcribe minutes from the videotape. That sounds like a job for the secretary. Could maybe write some minutes that are briefer than the full transcript. Or move the meeting to
I
the
made a
29th.
motion,
All right.
and there was a second.
All right, so is there any discussion? Okay, I would like to discuss the motion. The motion has been made and seconded. So our 3 choices are we move the date, we videotape it and try and make some minutes. We now know, of course, anytime you move a meeting, certain people can and cannot come, right? So we've already heard that Dr. Daly and Les cannot come on the 29th.
So why don't we back it up?
What?
Back it up one instead of going forward.
We can back it up one, but we do have a motion on the floor, and I respect that. So is there any discussion on that motion? That we move the meeting to the 29th?
Will it be necessary to amend that motion to the 15th?
It would be necessary to amend that motion if we were moving to the 15th. So, but Scott can amend that
Do you
motion.
really care?
Huh?
Is it you that can't make the 29th?
Unless we.
Unless- How badly do you? Huh?
We may not have a quorum, but we can't show up.
2 of you?
Oh,
I
you're
won't be here.
seriously?
I won't be here.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
That's a big
Falling
issue.
apart.
No, I don't really care. I just was wanting to move it.
Do we have business that we need a meeting in April, or can we move today? And just skip April?
Why don't we just go to every other month, like we do Mac and the?
Second.
I mean. I mean, I'm just making a point that we have monthly meetings apparently for a reason. This one is 2 hours in. So I don't really care one way or the other, but
I think the only reason that this meeting would remain Monday is because there is business that this body needs to do that has to be accomplished within a 30-day timeframe, right? So it's just a question of how that would be handled when that needs to happen.
can I amend my motion
Please.
to the April 15th? Is the 15th? Does that work?
Tax day.
I can't do it.
Is that good?
All right, the motion is that we meet next month on April 15th. Is there a second to that motion?
Can I make a friendly amendment?
All right, all right, we have a motion, we have a second, we have a friendly amendment.
I would like to make sure that if anybody can't attend the meeting doesn't count against them in the attendance.
I think that's a great amendment. Scott, will you accept that amendment?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Any further discussion?
There's your outwood. Yep.
All in favor of having our next meeting on April 15th, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Last item is adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.